Hello, and welcome back to the Gate Sports Podcast. Today is a special day. I, Joshua Melvin, co-host of this podcast, of this YouTube channel, it is recording currently on Saturday 26th at about 6:30 p.m. So keep that in mind if you're watching this in the future. I am recording a solo podcast. I'm not cutting Gavin out. We are just we both had ideas, and the other person is not very skilled in that area or is not as interested in that area. So we both decided, let's do one solo podcast. Both of us right now. We may do this in the future. We may not. So my solo podcast, this one, is going to be on the six quarterbacks that are going to be probably going in the first round of the 2020 NFL draft. So the way I'm going to structure this episode, first I'm going to tell you the consensus top 5 of what I've heard, what I like personally, and then my ranking, my official ranking, because what I like is much different than my official ranking. Not super different, but different. And then I will go through each player in order of the consensus, so people, makes sense, have it make sense for them. And then I will go to which teams will be looking at quarterbacks, I think, and which teams will draft the quarterbacks in the first round. So first, of course, is Trevor Lawrence, obvious reasons. Next is I'll talk about more in depth after I give my top 5. So this is consensus, right? This is consensus top 5. This is based off of what I've read, what I've heard from different sources, what I'm seeing on TV. This is like the consensus top 6 or the ranking of the top 6 quarterbacks in this draft. First, Lawrence. Second, Field. Third and fourth are kind of flip-flop between Wilson or Lance. It really depends on which one you personally like more rather than actual skill. They're very similar in ways. Then Kyle Trask, and then Mac Jones. And the way I like it, personally, I like this. It's not my official ranking of who I think's the best, but how I like it is number 1, Lawrence, number 2, Trask, number 3, Fields, number 4, Jones, number 5, Wilson, number 6, Lance, and then my ranking. This is my official ranking right now on the 26th. Now, this will change in our mock draft episode, obviously right before the draft, probably around mid-April. And that is number 1, Lawrence, number 2, Wilson, number 3, Fields, number 4, Trask, number 5, Jones, and number 6, Trey Lance. Now, that may surprise some people, so let's get into it. First, we have Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, very obvious. Best quarterback prospect I've really ever seen. What I've heard is best since Andrew Luck, which I've heard is best since Peyton Manning, which are those, they're okay. Like, especially Peyton Manning, iffy, not really that good, you could say. Obviously, I'm joking. I'd say probably second or third greatest quarterback of all time. And then Andrew Luck on track to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That man was amazing before the Indianapolis Colts decided to not draft an offensive lineman for like 3 or 4 straight years. And we're just like, yeah, we'll let him die. And then he nearly did. And he left the NFL because he was like, yeah, I got kids. I don't feel like nearly dying today. I already made generational wealth, so I don't need that. But back to Trevor Lawrence, nothing he really can't do. He's a strong runner, great acceleration, great speed, great strength at the quarterback position, great arm strength, can really make any read in the book, flips his eyes across the field, can avoid everything. He's got an amazing pocket feel. It's like he's got eyes in the back of the head. So darn impressive, which annoys me because it's annoying at how good he is. Then I have Zach Wilson. So let's go over and look into Zach Wilson's really the second quarterback. I did Trask first, but then I was like, if I did Trask, because I learned about Trask being really good and him being in the possible Bears range, I was interested in if he'd actually be able to be good for the Bears. So I was like, okay, that's how this got started for me doing a film session of every single quarterback except Trevor Lawrence because I've seen him so much on primetime television. So with Wilson, so obviously weakness, I'm going to go strength and weaknesses and then specifics. So strengths, his potential, amazing potential at 6'3", at how great of an athlete he is with his arm strength and his ability. He just needs to develop a little bit more of the weaknesses of his forcing balls, inconsistent mechanics, and inexperience in a complex system. He runs kind of a simple system over there in BYU. A lot of play action, a lot of triple options, a lot of just not forcing the run, but like playing off the run a lot, which they do have very talented running backs. I'm pretty sure there's one that's like projected to go in the third round, either this year or next year, whichever year he decides to declare. I think he is actually a sophomore. I may be wrong on that, but fact check me if you would like. And then inconsistent mechanics. So I recently watched a Brett Coleman video on, this was back when I watched it. So this is like a few weeks old now, the Brett Coleman video on Carson Wentz, like a few hours before I did the film session on Zach Wilson. And I noticed that Zach Wilson was doing the same thing that Carson Wentz is in the 2020 season, which is bow legging, he called it. It's where they don't point their foot at the target. Let's say this is the target, right? They don't put their foot towards the target. They put their foot like this, and then they bend their knee towards the target. So that's going to not help knee issues, which Carson Wentz has plenty, but that's going to help increase the chance of injury, as well as that's going to make your balls more inaccurate because you're relying more on your arm for strength and accuracy than like kind of letting your body flow. So that was a bit nerve-wracking, but it was only on like one or two throws a game that I watched. I watched the Western Kentucky game in 2020 and the Coastal Carolina game. That's where I got these stats, or not stats, but these notices from. He's in a spread offense as well, so like they play off the run, and it's also like a 5 wide at the same time, which like kind of contradicts itself looking back on it. But it's like it's either gonna be a triple option or it's gonna be 5 wide spread offense. They're gonna run basically 2 check down options and then like 5 deep routes and be like, okay, if he's not open, throw it to your 6'6" white tight end who will break like 7 tackles. So it's not a hard system. I could run it perfectly well. That's a joke. I can't. I'm not good at football. He's a great athlete. He's an amazing, amazing athlete. I would say the best athlete in this draft at the quarterback position. I'd say Fields is second, but we'll get to him later. He has quickness off the edge. He can get the corner. He can break tackles, and he has a breakaway speed. So he's really good there. Great athlete. He does play hero ball. He does that a lot, where he plays hero ball, and that's not a great thing, as seen by Carson Wentz. So hero ball's ruined his career at this point in 2020. He's not very good at football because he plays so much hero ball. He has okay competition. I mean, the Coastal Carolina defense is really good. The Western Kentucky defense, I've looked at their statistics using just like the NCAA.com. They kind of ranked every single one, but ranked every defense, but it was kind of interesting because they had Western Kentucky's defense above Alabama, so it didn't really take into account competition, just kind of stats allowed, which is much different because Western Kentucky is facing, I don't know, like not a BYU is not a good example, but like I'm blanking on one, but like let's say Bradley University or something like that, or they're playing like a Missouri or like a UConn. They're a good example. UConn football. They're playing a UConn football where Alabama's going to have to go against a Kyle Trask and a Florida. It's a very different levels of competition that they're playing. He has great downfield ball placement. He has a really, really good deep ball that I was really impressed by. I was not expecting a lot out of him because I just heard kind of one thing reading the scouting reports, that it was like he has a lot of potential, but he doesn't really make a ton of reads, and he's not very good at that, which made me very nervous because the last guy who did that was drafted by the Bears. And if anyone can remember the last quarterback drafted by the Bears, his name is Mitchell Trubisky. And to say he's worked out not so well would be quite the understatement. He has a good, strong arm. He can throw with speed. He could fit in tight windows downfield, which is really, really good. I saw a few times. He shows the ability to look off safety. So every once in a while, if he's really, really trying, he can look off a safety well and open up a lane, which is super impressive to me. That's one thing that I love because it doesn't matter what else you can really do if you can't move players out of their defensive positions, if that makes sense. It's in a way where it's like if the defense plays their positions right, it's 90 to 95% of the time, nothing's going to happen because, the defense is reacting to what your wide receivers, your weapons are doing, and then they'll be able to doing accordingly. So if you as the quarterback can look them off and open up a window, that is beautiful. He can get a bit skittish under pressure and kind of overthrow balls off his back foot and try and lob them up. And with the lobbing them up, he doesn't have the accuracy with them, and he kind of just overthrows them. He forces some balls. He gets a couple horrible looking interceptions, and that's kind of just because of the mechanics thing I was talking about earlier. He does also stare down routes. So then there's some plays where he'll be able to look off a safety, and then there's other plays where he's just going to stare it down like he's Mitchell Trubisky. If you can see where this is going. So he's got good speed on throws. He's got good play fakes. He does. There was a few times where I was watching the running back run without a ball, and he had the ball. So that was impressive because it's typically easier to check a play fake if you're watching it from above, like a bird's eye view, which you are during broadcasts. He's a smart slider. I assume he used to play baseball. I don't know though, with his arm talent and his sliding ability. Like a Kyler Murray. I think he used to play baseball. I don't know. I don't feel like looking it up. But that's about it of what I've noticed. So comparisons. I'm also going to give a comparison. Like a smaller Carson Wentz, or in other words, a Jalen Hurts. I feel like he's a Jalen Hurts, but with worse competition and worse help. Like Jalen Hurts had one of the best wide receivers in football the year he was really good, in CeeDee Lamb in college football. But he had a really not so great supporting cast over there in BYU for Zach Wilson. So I'm going to say worse competition and worse help. So he does remind me of a Jalen Hurts. Also, he didn't have as many struggles as he did early on in his career. So it's kind of like just like a last year Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma. So next, we will move on to Justin Fields. Alrighty. Hello. It's me, Josh. I'm updating my solo pod. Really the only things I want to change is Justin Fields. I am currently recording this at around 6:45 on Tuesday, January 5th. I know I didn't really want to edit that next day, so I forgot about it, and then now I'm editing it now. I will be posting it Wednesday for sure because I'm currently editing it. And I realized that Justin Fields third. Well, I watched the Clemson game, right? This is post-Clemson game. That was pre-Clemson game. Justin Fields is now my second prospect. Zach Wilson is my third because holy crap. Holy is what I have to say. Like, oh my goodness, did Justin Fields play well. He showed off everything that I had complaints about him. He showed off by reading, making different reads, looking off safeties. That's how I think he had 5 50-yard plus throws that I could remember, like counting, and just absolute bombs. He was doing what I asked him, what I said that he wasn't doing. So what his weaknesses were, he fixed them, like being carried by the talented Ohio State. Nah, he carried all of them because Trey Sermon had a pretty good game, but not like a goated game like he did in the Northwestern game. I mean, like, of course he's not going to repeat that. He had 330 yards and like 3 touchdowns. So obviously he's not going to repeat that. But Justin Fields showed off that he had that deep ball. He showed off that he had that ability to throw downfield much better, not just rely on his wide receivers making all of the moves. So I found that to be awesome. So now he's my second rated prospect over Zach Wilson. This is just jutting in. So keep in mind when I say the rest of this stuff, he proved me wrong in that college football playoff game. So not a great reader. Proved me wrong by making multiple reads and then going back to the first read. I remember watching him flip eyes, 1, deep route, 2, looking off the safety, because 2, they typically ran a post and a fly, right? They did that a lot, a post and a fly. So we looked off to the fly as the second route and then went to the post for the touchdown. Obviously like a skinny post, not a real post. A real post goes like that way. Skinny post was up, and like a curving in route. I think that's a seam route. I'm not for sure on that one, but forcing balls, no interceptions against a very good defense. I guess that still stands for other games, but for this game, he proved that he could not do it. And then he helped me prove my arm strength, and then help Iowa State prove me wrong there. Just absolutely throw that out the window because he did against the best team to be like, yeah, this is me. My comp will still stay the same of Russell Wilson coming out just at Ohio State. I feel like a little bit better now, but I can't really think of a better comparison because I just think they're still very similar. Not the tallest quarterbacks, good arm strength, good deep ball. And, I mean, he wasn't like hurt. He still wasn't like hurt by Ohio State. He was still helped a little bit, but wasn't nearly as much to be recognized as a weakness. So, I'm just going to keep in the other clip because, I like what I said there for his strengths and some of his weaknesses because that still applies because one game doesn't change everything. But one game does change a lot when it comes to at least the weakness of helped out by Ohio State and kind of just checking it down. So when you hear that, ignore that. Thank you. Back to your old video that will be coming out tomorrow. It's my next ranked quarterback. Now, in Justin Fields, I heard he was like consensus number 2. In any other draft, he'd be the number 1 overall pick, an amazing, amazing quarterback. I was unimpressed. I was unimpressed. I did not really love what I saw from him. Now, I watched his 2 good opponents this year. I watched Indiana and Northwestern. Indiana has a good defense, not great, and Northwestern has a really, really good defense. I would like to give a shout out to Brandon Joseph, a cornerback for the Northwestern. If this finds you, sir, great interception. I never saw it. This was an insane. If you're a fan of football, which you are probably listening to this, you watched the Xavier Howard interception against Patrick Mahomes a week or 2 ago, and it was like that. It was an amazing interception. Never saw it once on ESPN. Want to know why? Because he doesn't play for Ohio State. He played against him. You got to hide. You got to hide those imperfections against Ohio State to keep their program looking goated, which is what the big media does. It's all a conspiracy. All of you wear tinfoil hats, all of that. You got to make sure to keep yourself safe from the Ohio Buckeyes. I don't know why I go on those joking tangents, but I do. So they should not have beaten Northwestern first off. They should not have beaten Northwestern. At least in the first half, Northwestern was manhandling Justin Fields. This man could not do anything. He was awful. Awful, I tell you. Now, you may say, Ohio State fans, specifically you, Tyler Nels, if you're watching this, which you should be, you may say to me, hey, what about the other games? I don't care about the other games. The other games he's facing like Minnesota and Maryland, teams with half the talent that they do. But as soon as he goes against a really good competition, like Clemson of last year, he kind of falls apart. So that makes me nervous. Where the one time Zach Wilson went against good competition in Coastal Carolina, he didn't collapse. He just didn't play as good. He didn't collapse. He didn't die. He just kind of was like, okay, I can't complete as many passes as I can, and just kind of got stopped. So he's got a good touch off. He can look off some safeties every once in a while. He's way too confident in his arm. He feels like he can do anything with his arm. He feels like he's Patrick Mahomes. Justin Fields does. There was like a couple interceptions in the game against Indiana where he just tried to force a ball because he thinks he could whip it in there at 70 miles an hour, which he cannot. So it was not impressive. He's a great athlete. He's stronger. He's not as fast as Zach Wilson, but he's stronger like Trey Lance. He's a stronger runner. He does take a lot of risky throws. His reads are super easy. He typically goes 1 read, check down, 1 read, check down, 1-2, check down, 1-2, check down, 1-2, check down. So it's never really anything immaculate, and I'm not very impressed by it. I feel like he's going to be a floor raiser more than a ceiling raiser, which is why I feel like he would work better if like San Francisco or the Colts traded up than actually working in the Jets system. I feel like he would also work better in Jacksonville, but we'll get more into where he would work better later. Iffy decision making. There's sometimes where he's just like gonna force a ball, and it's just gonna be like, why would you ever think of throwing that? Kind of like a Brett Favre, just like, Why? Like, what thought process led you to throwing that ball there? Like, why? It just doesn't make sense. There was one where there was a wide open tight end in the same area. So they're running a curl back route that can either fade out like an out route, or he can just stand still with the tight end. And they're running a short comeback route. It's like a 3rd and 3 in the third quarter of the Northwestern game. And the tight end's wide open. Patty Fisher blew a coverage. He got faked up, and the tight end's wide open. He's looking right over there, and he forces a comeback route which was perfectly covered by a Northwestern defensive back. Now, it turned out to be an interception because the wide receiver was taking a different route. He was taking too far of a step drop, or he was trying to run a fly, just a miscommunication. But it was covered perfectly by the defensive back, and it was caused to be an interception when there was a wide open tight end right next to it. So there's an example of one where you're like, what are you doing? The tight end's right there. So that does make me nervous. He does have a great arm. He can really sling it. He has potential to keep his eyes downfield, but he doesn't really want to the majority of the time. He does like running, I've noticed. And he gets into kind of a run mode where it's like, oh boy, the play breaks down. Now I get to run it. He gets like all giddy, I assume, and just like, ooh, yay, I get to run rather than pass. So then he does not looking downfield for his amazing weapons. And he's just like, all right, let me try and run for this. And one thing is, I thought Fields was lifting up the talent of Ohio State, not the other way around. But when I was watching it, I was thinking more of like the other way around. I felt like the talent, because he never really made any spectacular throws downfield. He never really did anything that wowed me. In terms of his arm, the majority of the big chunk plays were like 20 yards and in throws, and then 30 yards or more of run after catch by these amazing Ohio State wide receivers. So it was not that impressive, and I felt like the talent raised it more for him rather than the other way around, rather than him raising the talent, which is actually the inverse of another quarterback, Mac Jones, which I did not know. And his strengths, arm, running ability, and potential. Obviously, if you have an arm, you have a running ability, and you're perceived as good and you show flashes, you have potential. And he has a super high floor, like my comparison. And the weaknesses, not a great reader. Like, he can't, like, I've never seen him make a 4-step read, right? Read 1, read 2, back to read 1, read 3, and then check down. Check down, I don't really count as a read because it's like, oh, my reads were clogged, so I'm just going to dump it down. Like, that's what happens. That doesn't count as a read. But like 1, 2, back to 1 to 3. So that wasn't impressive to me. He forces balls, like I said, and then helped by Ohio State, helped by the fact that it is Ohio State and they're going to be top 3 talent-wise roster in college football. My player comparison is Russell Wilson coming out of college. So that first year of Russell Wilson and Russell Wilson coming out of college, where it's like he's impressive on the ground. He kind of loves the ground way too much. And he's not really, like, he was more helped out by talent, but I feel like Justin Fields was helped out by talent more, and that's why he's going to be arguably a top 2 pick and not a 3rd round pick like Russell Wilson. Next, my third quarterback is I already talked about Zach Wilson. I already talked about Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. We're halfway through the quarterbacks. Next is my favorite that the Bears can take, because they can't take Lawrence. Obviously not. Lawrence is going to destroy them because obviously he's going first. It's not even close for the idea of him not going first. Sorry, I was buying time to get to Kyle Trask. I loved what I saw out of Kyle Trask. This man is the best. This includes Trevor Lawrence, the best pocket passer in college football right now that is coming out. By far the best pocket passer. It's not even close. It's insane how good of a pocket passer he is. Amazing placement. Now, this is against Georgia. Very good defense against Georgia. And I tried watching Alabama, but I couldn't find game tape of the game against Alabama. This also applies to Mac Jones later. I couldn't find game tape of him. I could only find highlights. So that's what we have, is just highlights. So strengths and weaknesses, and then into what I've noticed specifically, like the other quarterbacks. Ball placement. Oh my goodness, this man's ball placement is amazing. I love it. It's so good. Full fields reads. Only quarterback I saw in this draft that's able to do a 1-2-1-3 check down that I saw. Which is the most impressive, not the most, but like an impressive read to me in college. Like you're able to check one, be like, okay, that's not open right now. It could be open. Let me check two. My second read isn't open. Let me check one again because I said it could be open. It's not. And three, are you open? No, you're not. Let me just throw it down to Kyle Pitts or whatever running back is there. Oh my goodness, is he amazing under pressure. This man can take some beatings and get the ball out. Really, really good. He's got, gonna be honest, an overrated arm. His arm strength is not great. I know it's not really like talked about how good his arm is because his arm's not good. So people are like, "Oh, his arm's iffy." His arm's way worse than iffy. It's not a great arm. It's like a Matt Ryan arm no, it's not even that as good as Matt Ryan. It's like in between Drew Brees and whatever the 31st arm strength is. It's not very good, and that's not promising. But the thing with arm strength is you can gain arm strength. You can't gain arm talent, but you can gain arm strength. Can read the whole field. He does blank sometimes where he's like playing Madden and he just kind of forces a ball, but this happens like once or twice a game or once a half. This happens, and this can turn out very badly like an interception or not, and really depends. He knows his weaknesses, so he doesn't try and force balls downfield. And now I said this after a great play where he saw that there was their number one wide receiver. I don't know who that is, but he was running open downfield on a downfield post. But Kyle Pitts was open on an over route about 20 yards. The post route, but it wasn't really a post route because it was going out because they came in from the slot, went up and out. So kind of like an over route, but more of an angular path. So I don't know what route that is. If you watch football, if you know football, because I've never really played football, I just watch football. If you know the name of that route, please tell me down below. But he knew he couldn't make that throw, so Kyle Pitts was also open, so he throws it to Pitts and gets about the same amount of yards that he would have if he made that throw, because the guy would have had to come back to the ball. So he knows his weaknesses, amazing ball placement, can see very small windows, and is able to fit the ball there. He's calm under pressure. He can show good arm talent where he can throw at different angles and make impressive throws, but not really down the field, which scares me. I think the definition of this is that like he threw a 38-yard pass on the money off of a back foot, no step into it, back foot 38-yard bullet pass. If you're playing Madden, like a bullet pass downfield on the money for a touchdown. I think it was a touchdown, but it was like perfect in stride right here. So it was a beautiful, beautiful throw. And it's like, how are you able to make a 38-yard pass on the money off your back foot with pressure in your face, and then the next play you can't throw a 20-yard comeback, you underthrow a 20-yard comeback to Kyle Pitts. Now I looked at the footage again, and I didn't find that it was like a mechanical issue. It was just kind of like he short-armed the ball a little bit, where I felt like he kind of was trying to get the ball out faster, so he shortened his rotation like this instead of bringing it fully back and kind of more of like a natural motion. It was more of like a robotic motion. So he forces on said blank plays earlier that like he forces the ball, which causes interceptions. He's the best in this draft class for looking off players, like looking them off and being like, hey, I'm definitely throwing it over here. Flips his eyes, throws a strike over here on the left side of the field. He's good at taking the small plays. He's fine with taking the check down. If any of you played Madden 20 or Madden 19, I forget the name of it. It's like the Mathis franchise. Where you play as a high school quarterback. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like a journey something. Their first dabble in like a career mode. But the whole issue of that thing is that like that quarterback didn't take the check down and tried to force it downfield, cause an interception. Ran over, tangent over, Kyle Trask can do that. He can take the small play, and he's good with it, which is really good. And he's great at feeling pressure, and he has good pocket movement. Like I said, the strengths, the weaknesses. What he reminds me of is like a Kirk Cousins or a young Matt Ryan. Like Matt Ryan from when he was drafted, I think 2009. I may be wrong on that. A Matt Ryan from when he was drafted in 2009 to his MVP season around there, where he isn't a statue yet, but he's not exactly mobile, where he's not going to be a great runner, but he's going to be okay. He'll survive as a runner. And he can avoid the pocket, which I think is really good, especially knowing his arm, his pocket passing ability. So I think moving up to the next level, gaining arm strength, I think he's going to be a really good quarterback in this league, like how Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins both are. Moving on to Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones was the guy that I thought Justin Lawrence is, where he's going to be raised by the fact that he has two of the best wide receivers in football, the best running back, and top two offensive line. But no. I feel like Mac Jones is kind of like diet Kyle Trask in a bit, where he has a great deep ball. He's good at looking around, good avoidance. He's a better athlete. He has better arm strength, but worse at reading the field, and is obviously helped out by that talent. Like you're not going to be if literally your wide receiver is a Heisman finalist. But I feel like he was more an activator of I want to say Jalen Waddle or Jaren Waddle. I know his last name's Waddle, number 17. That's kind of just what matters. And Devonta Smith, he is more of an activator of them because he's able to throw the deep ball amazingly. Probably the best deep ball in this class besides Trevor Lawrence. Really, really good deep ball, great touch passes, amazing. He's more of a floor raiser. I think he'd work really well in a place that you can assume, and I'll tell you later. I don't know why I started that sentence, but I did. But he's really going to help like a talented team and just kind of like be safety and be able to make the throws that you need him to make. He can make really most throws on the field. If you're not going to be asking him to be Patrick Mahomes, which you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be asking that of anyone except Trevor Lawrence because obvious reasons. But I was surprised at how good he was. I don't have a ton of notes here because when I'm watching the game tape of the Georgia game, once again, I could only find highlights of the Florida game. It's kind of like he just does a lot of plays where like, yeah, that was good. Yeah, he did what he needed to do. He never really looked off any safety and was like, oh my goodness, I looked off the safety and then I threw a strike immediately after, or with like a no-look throw like Matt Stafford did last week. It was more of just like that was a really, really good. I was happy with that throw. That was perfect, right on the money to a semi-open wide receiver. You perfectly placed the ball for him to catch it and run with it after the ball. So it wasn't anything that really blew me away. He's not the best athlete out there, but he's better than Kyle Trask, and he's a decent mover. He gets kind of in a panic mode under pressure, which is kind of an issue when he doesn't have a great offensive line, which he won't. Majority of places he'll be going. And that's about it. He can take a bunch of hits. This man's very tough. He can get laid the crap out and nothing will happen. And he'll just get up like nothing happened. So his strengths, his arm, his mechanics are super clean. He uses his hips and his arm for accuracy. He uses his hips for power. Really, really good. Ball placement's amazing, and his arm is actually surprisingly good. I've heard no one talk about how great his arm is, but he can make like a 60-yard pass, but he can take a bunch of hits. His weaknesses, though, are the talent around him is the best in college football, I would say. Amazing talent, and that kind of raises him a little bit. He's outstandingness is kind of a weakness. He's kind of like just there, he's just there. He's not really going to blow you away and he won't really hurt you. And his reads aren't really that impressive either. Like his reads are kind of like a Justin Fields reads where it's like 1, 2, check down, or just 1, check down, 1, 2, check down, all that kind of stuff. My player comparison is going to be a rookie Joe Burrow at like his peak, like what I think he will be consistently is like a rookie Joe Burrow, where he's going to not really throw a ton of interceptions. He'll be able to survive on mobility. He'll really raise your team and he can take a ton of shots. So I think that reminds me a lot of a rookie Joe Burrow. So moving on to my final quarterback ranking, in the sixth spot, I think a quarterback who will not turn out well. I think every other quarterback will turn out well, except for this one, Trey Lance. He is ass, straight ass. I don't get why people think he's good. I watched a game against SDSU, South Dakota State University, JMU, James Madison University, in the championship game last year. That their only loss was to a ranked FBS team in West Virginia at the time, and they barely lost 20-7. So that was or 20-13. Very, very good game. Or very close game and very good defense that he played against. And he didn't really do that good. And I did take the look at the one singular 2020 game against Central Arkansas, and Central Arkansas sucks, so it's like not really great competition. And he didn't do that great. He's a good athlete. He's quick to leave the pocket. It's either an extreme. Either he's going to stay in way too long and take a dump sack, or he's going to be way too quick to leave. He's going to go back, look at his first read, be like, oh God, he's not open at the second, and immediately start running. He's got a strong arm, but he literally went 1 for 8 on downfield passes that I saw. In the 3 games, he attempted passes that were more than 40 yards 8 times. He was close, not completed. 0 for 9 uncompleted, but catchable balls 1 for 8. This man's trash downfield. His down to be the opposite of Russell Wilson's deep ball would be an understatement. This man is trash, awful deep ball. His eye movement is there. There'd be like one play a game where he'd have amazing eye movement, and then the rest of it's awful. His ball placement is awful. He's strong. He's a very strong runner. He's not quick. He won't get the corner, but he'll be able to break away. So he's got long speed, but not short speed. He's not going to be able to take that corner from you, but he's got the long speed. He's good at keeping his eyes downfield. He short arms quite a few balls. He got lackadaisical mechanics. He's just looking like he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't fully go to his drops. He does kind of like half trying drops. It's not great. He's got a very run-heavy scheme, so he doesn't get to show off his talent that much. Hence the only 8 downfield, super downfield throws. Hence the only 8 in 3 games. Yet he only completed, or didn't even complete one, just only got close on one. He takes a ton of hits. He's really good at taking hits. There's 3 guys who are really good at taking hits. I'm trying to find something good about him to say. I'm looking at my notes, but there's not very much. We'll look at his strengths and weaknesses now. His strengths, running ability, his arm strength, and his pocket feel. He does have good pocket feel. And the weaknesses, throwing a football would be one of them. So his deep ball, his ball placement, his mechanics. So basically, my comp, diet Josh Allen. He's like a worse Josh Allen coming out. I don't see how people really love him. I don't understand that. I see that people love him, or oh my goodness, this guy's going to be the best quarterback in the draft besides Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be insane. I don't see it. I don't see it. It doesn't make any sense to me. He's not good at football. He's not good. Now, I didn't think Josh Allen would be good, but Josh Allen went to a great coaching situation. So the only way Trey Lance is able to succeed is if Kyle Shanahan picks him up at 12. That we'll get into later. But if Kyle Shanahan picks him up at 12, right? And that's the only way I see, or he drops all the way to 23 with Frank Reich. I don't think if he goes to let's say Carolina, Dallas, New York, or Washington even, I don't see him turning out well, because I think he's going to need amazing coaching, just like how Josh Allen needed amazing coaching, and now he's an MVP candidate. So I think that he's going to need amazing coaching, but he's like a diet Josh Allen to me when Josh Allen was coming out. We shall move on now to the draft picks. That's it for all the players. Now to get into who do I think they will work with and where do I think they will go. Now, I don't think Jacksonville is actually the worst team in the football right now. I actually think they do have quite a bit of talent. It's just all very young. So I think going to Jacksonville is going to be really nice for either quarterback that goes there. Somehow the Jags beat the Jets. Sorry, the Jags beat my Bears this weekend and are able to lose Trevor Lawrence again. I will be 1, shocked, 2, happy for Justin Fields more because that's a better situation because they do have an established wide receiver and running back now, so we will have talent around him, which will help Justin Fields much more. Where the Jets, not so much. Then I have Carolina for obvious reasons, but I feel like they'll take more of a project guy. Cough, cough. Remember who I said was a project guy a little bit earlier in the episode and think about who I'm going to put there. I feel like Dallas, it depends if they re-sign Dak, and if they don't, I think that won't really if they don't re-sign him, they'll have to draft a quarterback or sign one. I feel like the Giants could. I don't think they will, but I feel like they could. San Francisco will be looking for one. New England will. Indianapolis will. Washington will. And Chicago will. I think those are the guys that will be looking for quarterbacks in the 2020 draft. Now, I will rule off Dallas because I do think Dak's going to re-sign there because I don't think there's many places where Dak would like to go that will be able to compete and be able to sign him. I feel like the Bears will have to cut a lot of salary for them to bring him in, or he'll have to take a significant pay cut, which I don't think he will, because if he wanted to, then he would have just stayed there in Dallas. I don't think the Giants will because I think they'll give it one more year on the Daniel Jones experiment because their team's so young that they'll be able to be like, okay, so let's see if we have Saquon Barkley there, will he be passable? Because right now I think Daniel Jones is arguably the worst quarterback in football. Currently starting. I feel like Nick Foles and Carson Wentz obviously have been worse this year, but they're not currently starting for the reasons that they are so bad. The San Francisco will, I think. New England, I think, will be like a mid to late round guy to be looking for. Obvious reasons with Tom Brady. They really haven't drafted anyone in the first round that's been very good, so I don't think they'll go for quarterback in the first round. Besides Isaiah Wynn, the offensive lineman. So I do think they'll go offensive lineman first round as well, and then go quarterback later in the draft. Indianapolis, obvious reasons, Philip Rivers contract up. You don't want to pay another $25 million to him, and Jacoby Brissett's not the answer as shown last year. And you're going to be getting Marlon Mack back, and that talent there. You draft another wide receiver, and then you have a good tight end in Jack Doyle. They should have kept Ebron because Ebron was so good for them. Then you have Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack, two, in my opinion, above average backs, which means like top probably 20. I think they're both very good. So good talent, get another wide receiver there. Washington, I think we'll be looking for one. As good as Alex Smith has been for just kind of game managing, they need like someone who can actually raise them because they don't have a ton of talent on offense besides two guys, which is just Antonio Gibson, very good. Terry McLaurin, very good. But after that, it really falls off. Like, I can't name you their second wide receiver, and that's not even a joke. I have no idea who their second wide receiver is. I can name J.D. McKissick and Peyton Barber, of course, their number 2, number 3 running back. But their wide receiver, no idea. So not a lot of talent there. Then, obviously, Chicago, I feel like, has the best talent around anyone with David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Anthony Miller, all very, very good, very talented players. Please, Allen Robinson, if somehow this video finds you, please resign. I would love you if you resigned, please. But let's get into it. Trevor Lawrence going to the number 1 overall pick. Whether that's Jacksonville or the Jets doesn't matter. The Jacksonville would be better for him, but that'll also be better for every other quarterback than the Jets because the Jets fucking suck. They only have literally 2 guys on offense who are above average, and that's Denzel Mims and Mekhi Becton. Also, shout out to Jamison Crowder, but he'll probably be leaving because why the hell would he want to stay there when he's that talented? Also, look at what Robbie Anderson turned into, a top 10 wide receiver as soon as he left the Jets. So, being dragged down there. Then I think Zach Wilson will go 4th to Carolina just because he's a project guy. You let Teddy Bridgewater start one more year, sit him behind him, say, Teddy Bridgewater, hey, bye, go to another team that's like just starting a rebuild and needs kind of like a quarterback to just be there, just be there and not suck. So I think they'll have him play one more year and have Wilson behind him. Then I think at 12, it will be actually, I have a Trey Lance written down here, but thinking about it more, I think that Mac Jones will go there because Mac Jones is perfect, literally perfect to a T of a Kyle Shanahan quarterback. Now, do I think he'll go Trask? Actually, yes, I do think he will go Trask because he's like a better Jimmy G. He's like a Matt Ryan, like I said, for his comp. Do I actually think they'll go Jimmy G there? Yes. Why am I picking Mac Jones to go there? Because I want Kyle Trask to go to the Bears, to be honest with you. But for both of them, they're very similar quarterbacks. For both of them, you're looking at a quarterback who's not really going to be anything like Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, top 5, top 10 quarterback. But at the same time, you're looking at someone who's not going to kill you like a Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Foles. You're not really looking at that. So I think he'll be the perfect guy to be play actions and just kind of, take advantage of the talent that's there with George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. Who else had a really good tight end, a really good running back core, and 2 really good wide receivers, and handed off the ball a ton? Mac Jones. He did that exact same at Alabama. So why won't it work over in San Francisco and bring them a championship like he did to Alabama, which he never did? I am lying to you. I'm sorry about that. But got to the Super Bowl of championships, and as well as was very productive. Now, obviously, 2019 Mac Jones is much different than 2020 Mac Jones. Anyways, moving on to Kyle Trask. Trask, I think, will go to Chicago because I want him to go to Chicago, and I think he's going to be not the most perfect fit, but a really good fit. And in the fact that I think he'll be a great passer, and I think you let Mitchell Trubisky start the year, and as soon as he makes another big interception, you put Trask in. Or you just let – I honestly don't think you should sit Trask because you're kind of in a win now mode, and you need a guy who's going to win now before the Super Bowl contending window is over, which is when Khalil Mack's contract is up. So I think I hated having Mac Jones. I said this before to Gavin. Gavin can attest to this. You can comment down below so you could get more engagement in this video, Gavin. I've said that I hated if Mac Jones went to the Bears, but now looking at it, I would hate it less than Trey Lance. I don't like Trey Lance at all. So Kyle Trask to the Bears, I think, would fit really well, and I think he'd do really good. And I also think either of them going to Indianapolis would be awesome as well. Now I think Trey Lance will probably go to Washington at 19. I don't really see how Washington passes up on him or passes up on a quarterback. They might, because Ron Rivera might not be in love with him, because the last time they drafted a quarterback in the same range that they are, didn't really turn out well. Dwayne Haskins didn't really turn out too well. So I want him to go to Indy. I think Mac Jones to go to Indy or San Francisco. I feel like he'd work perfectly there. Yeah. Basically, to round it out, I think Lawrence will go first, Fields will go second, Wilson's going to go 4. I think the top 3 are pretty concise. I think Lance or Jones or Trask can go 12. I don't think Lance will go 16. And then whoever doesn't go between the 3 of them will go at 19, possibly even fall to 23 for the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I don't know how long this episode is. I'm probably going to assume around 45 minutes. Thank you for listening. It was awesome to do a solo podcast. We are not ending the Together podcast. If you preferred it, I will put a poll on my Instagram later today after I post this, asking you guys which one you liked more. Please subscribe, comment down below how bad I am at this. That'll just increase my views, and I'll appreciate that. But thank you for listening, and see you guys soon.